through competitive compensation, training, and leadership development as a strategic necessity. Okay, thank you, sir.
First, any questions from the class before proceed to make my own observations? No. Okay, if you have none, in your introductory presentation, you alluded to the fact that INGO are governed by the laws of the country where they operate from.
Yes, sir.
But they are registered. So is it that they are not also governed by their own regulation, their own articles and document charter? They're not governed by their own charter.
They are governed by their own charter. You know, after
That's
incorporation.
not fair. I'm guiding you. So in your presentation, those are the things we look out for. Because this is a master's class. So you have to be strategic and detailed in your presentation. If you say they are governed by the law of the country where they operate, then just like corporations, they can't violate their memorandum and article of memorandum of association, memorandum and article members.
Yes, sir, and their constitution too. Yes, sir.
And their internal. So for IAGOs like that, they are registered with their whole constitution, which will list out the objective aims and what they need to do and how they want to do what they do. So if they violate their own internal rules, their own regulation, they're liable to be sanctioned. They're liable to be sanctioned. So sanctions will be imposed not by government or the regulator.
Yes,
that extent, so they are self-regulated essentially. If you need three people to approve certain resolution, you can't pass a resolution by one person. Stuff like that. Second, when you are doing comparative appraisal, you don't do disjointed appraisal. You do a kind of integrated appraisal. You won't first list out Apple, this is Apple, this is this, Apple grows in one region, it's green in color, could be yellow, could be black, and now go back to orange. No. To do side by side comparison of the essential features. You understand?
Yes, sir.
Apple is not orange and orange is not apple.
No apple. Yeah.
Though orange is rounded in structure. Apple is also round, but this one is legend, this one is no. That kind of integrated basket grouping kind of comparison. That's how they do it. It's not a disjointed comparison the way you've done it. That's not comparison. So when you want to talk about their distinguishing features, you say one is tall, one is short, one is dark, one is black. You won't take it and say, hey, this is a short guy. He went to this school, he studied law, he studied this. No. You say, okay, Bola and Christopher belong to the same parent. While Bola was born in January 2022, Christopher was born in February 2028. That's how to do. You first detail everything about one, and there will be nothing to connect. It won't be a kind of side-by-side appraisal the way you laid it out. So your method of appraisal is faulty. So I guess you can revise the paper and send it back for proper grading. So let's have the next group. Let's have group 11.
Thank you, sir. Good evening, Prof. Sir. Good evening, everyone.
Group 11.
Yes, sir. I'm for group 11.
Yes, this is 536.
Yes, sir.
When it's 531, you stop yourself.
Okay, sir.
How many of them in that group?
So it's just myself in the group, sir. Because at a point, there's some groups that have two, and depending on the number of class members are registered for the course, while the rest of the groups now have one each, sir. Yes, sir.
No problems. Please go ahead.
Okay, so very quickly, I try to look at the growing influence of multinational corporations in global governance challenges relating to traditional conceptions.
Okay, this is the class government.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just self-regulate yourself.
Thank you, sir. So very quickly, a brief summary of each chapter. Chapter 1, I try to focus on the definitions of multinational corporations versus international institutions. While MNCs are profit-driven, transactional entities, traditional international institutions are more like treaty-based intergovernmental bodies. I try to use companies such as Shell and Google as my main focus of the paper to explain the conceptual foundations of the paper. Also, the issue of the legal personality debate, whether MNCs can be analogized to international institutions, highlighting their quasi-institutional roles, for example, Shell in Nigeria and Google's data governance policies. Like I said earlier, I used two major case studies, two major MNCs that we're familiar with our generation, Shell and Google. Shell being a company, a multinational organization that operates as a de facto regulator in weak governance zones. And then for Google, setting a standard for global data norms, acting sort of as a digital sovereign. Now in chapter 2, I try to focus on MNCs as norm creators. The key points being soft law and self-regulation, OECD guidelines, setting voluntary standards for human rights enforced via national contact points. Also arbitration clauses, which is one of the major strong holds of MNCs to privatize dispute resolution, in the process sidelining domestic courts. Conflict with state sovereignty, institutional parallels, while in chapter 3, the institutionalization of MNC power, their functional equivalence, MNC's internal governance, resembling IO's international organizations assembly. So, for example, the boards, the compliance, the highest decision-making authority units, which is also sort of mirroring, for example, say the World Health Organization board, also being able to make laws and regulations for each of the various organizations or institutions. Accountability gaps, which usually lacks judicial review for MNC decisions, for the overwhelming level of influence that they wield over the economy as a whole. There's that vacuum that is in existence. Also, corporate social responsibility as governance tool, where they use CSR to legitimize their power, but risk greenwashing. Quickly, chapter 4, legal and ethical challenges of MNCs, using Shell in Nigeria, which has repeatedly been accused of environmental and human rights abuses, limited accountability under soft law, and for Google, the constant tension between invasion of privacy, corporate power, state regulation, and then we try to I try to profile recommendations on how binding treaties can sort of align the blurry line, the blur between the powers that MNCs they hold over the economy, over countries, over global spaces where they operate, where their subsidiaries operate and function, and also to ensure enhanced transparency in arbitration, strengthen soft law such as the OECD guidelines, and ISDS, OECD being Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, while ISDS being Investor State Dispute Settlement, which is a mechanism that allows investors from one country to sue another country government for alleged breaches of investment treaties. So 531, sir, I try to stick to the time. So that's a summary of my paper, sir.
Thank you very much, Kesha. Any comment from class? Okay. You didn't tell us the basis of your comparison or the basis of your case studies of Google and Coca-Cola. What informed your choice of Google and Coca-Cola? Why not Pepsi and maybe another brand out there? What symbolism? What really prompted that? Because the first thing you do when you are doing your analysis via the case study approach, you need to tell us, oh, I want to compare Nigeria and South Africa and
Yes,
Ghana.
sir.
My choice of case study is informed by the fact that this. Then you now go ahead to do the comparison. Not to tell us, but there are several countries, there are several multinational organizations or corporations, uh, multinational corporations in the world, even those operating in Nigeria. So why choose the particular one you choose? You need to lay a kind of premise for your choice. It's important, and that's lacking in the presentation. So what informed your choice of Google and Coca-Cola?
Okay,
Briefly.
sir. So I used Google and Shell. Google because of their increasing stake in being able to um, own ownership in almost every social platform tool. Google has a
That's why
majority
that's why
stake there.
that's why you chose Google, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's why I
Why
chose
share?
Google.
Why share?
And then I picked
Why
Shell.
share?
Okay. I also picked Shell because of their long-standing history in Africa and especially in Nigeria has been one of the pioneer operators in the oil and gas in the energy sector, sir.
What particular difference or
Having a
similarity?
long-standing business history.
What peculiar similarity or differences did you see in their style of operation as multinational entities?
Yes, sir. So the similarity, one major standing out similarity for me between Shell and Google is their overwhelming majority stake in the different industries that they play in. Now, Google, you find out that for any kind of social tool that you intend to use on your phone, on your laptop, your device, Google must they have a majority stake. They have a link. They have a buyout from Facebook. They have a stake in Twitter and all of that, and they're able to use their platform to sway to cause a major influence to
Do you
sway
know? Do you
major
know? Do you know
opinion.
what? Wait. Do you know why we chose
Yes, sir.
multinational corporations as international nation? Do you know why we chose that topic?
So I believe
Do you know why?
because first of all, because it's a global entity with major subsidiaries across the globe, and
No,
therefore
that's not the
that's
reason. That's not the reason. The reason why
okay,
we
sir.
chose that topic, no, when I started the program, was because there were some international institutions that operate like multinational entities. And there are multinational institutions that are so powerful like
Yes, sir.
international institutions. In fact, the Ramsar Convention was domiciled in a corporate organization, or in a multinational corporation. We're saying, what is an international institution? International institution is set up with defined objective, with membership cutting across countries. They are chartered, they have their constituent instrument, and so on and so forth. So if you look at multinational corporations too, they are set up with defined objective. They also operate in several countries. People in class now said, no, they don't have their constituent instrument. I said,
Yes,
they
sir.
can't even be a corporation without having a constituent instrument. Why others might have been set up by a convention, a protocol, a treaty, a law, whatever, in international law called instrument. Multinational corporations too are set up by their own internal laws called Memorandum and Article of Association, which is their own constitution. That's what enables them to
Yes, sir.
go. And the way they now operate now is because they are now kind of institutionalized in terms of power. Some of them help warring factions or rebel leaders to seek government. They influence change of government, they influence strategic policy, they influence international laws, domestic laws. And that's why we're not so. Though, strictly speaking, multinational corporations are not international institutions. But short of the name, they operate like international institutions. So we just
Yes, sir.
wanted somebody will say, oh, they are not even more powerful than international institutions, or they are not as powerful as international institutions. That was the basis of the argument that led to that seminar topic. Anyway, when I see your paper, I'll be able to do a critical assessment of that. But by your presentation, it shows a decent paper that should be recommended. But until then, until I see it, I won't be able to give you my own verdict on that.
So I didn't hear you, sir.
So
It was breaking.
Until I see the paper, I won't be able to give you my final.
Can anyone else hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear.
It was breaking, sir. I'm just hearing you now, sir.
I said until I see your paper, I won't be able to give you my final verdict on the paper. But listening to you and the issues raised in your paper and glancing through virtually in the course of this class, virtual class, it seems a good paper that might at best be a recommended paper, if not a single or double star paper. Until I see physically to be able to do a critical assessment.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
And I invited Group 12 for their own presentation. Group 12, the time is 5:39. You stop at 5:44.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Group 12.
Okay. Yeah, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Yes. Okay. So, my name is Philip Shagaya Yahaya. I'm presenting on an appraisal on the role of international financial and trade institutions in Africa. So generally, this seminar paper examines the role of international financial institutions, that is IFIs, including the IMF, World Bank, and then the African Development Bank, as well as trade institutions like the World Trade Organization, the ECOWAS, and then also the AFCFTA, that is the African Continental Free Trade Area, in fostering economic development in Africa. The paper explores their legal frameworks, their contributions, their challenges, and then the impact on state sovereignty. The paper is divided into 5 parts. However, we were able to structure it into 2 different parts. We first looked at IFIs, then we went in to look at trade institutions. So we first did an overview of international financial institutions, that's IFIs, the objectives and strategies of IFIs, the impact of IFI in African development, trade institutions. We looked at the rules and frameworks, the challenges facing trade institutions, and then emerging issues, which may include digital trade, and then climate finance, and then recommendations were profiled. Now, looking at an overview of IFIs, IFIs aim to promote economic development, providing financial resources and policy advice. Key institutions include IMF, that's the International Monetary Funds, the World Bank, African Development Bank. Others may also include Chinese Development Bank, and then the Sharia Compliance Investment Certificate, also known as Sukuk in Nigeria. Now, we looked at adopted frameworks often come with conditionalities impacting national sovereignty. Because of my time, allow me to get straight into the impact. Now, impact of IFIs on African development. We saw that IFIs have contributed to infrastructural development with significant funding in Africa generally. Examples include the African Development Bank's $5 billion investment in 2024, and then legal challenges arose from conditionalities affecting constitutional mandate. One of the cases we looked at was South Africa, wherein a TRIPS agreement was restricting South Africa from enjoying HIV and AIDS medication. And the the matter was taken to court, and the Supreme Court of South Africa ruled that because of the welfare of South Africans, that agreement should not be implemented by the South African government. Now, we went ahead to also look at trade institutions, the rules and framework. All right, we looked at
2 more minutes, just so that
we also looked at ECOWAS and then African Continental Free Trade areas as key trade institutions enhancing market access. Now, African Continental Free Trade Access aims to increase intra-African trade and regional integration. Success depends on overcoming non-tariff barriers and alignment of national laws. However, there are challenges facing trade institutions: political instability and economic capacity variations among member states hinder progress. Also, the World Trade Organization rules and non-tariff barriers pose limitations on African states' sovereignty. These studies highlight enforcement challenges and outcomes of legal disputes. We also looked at some cases in our work. Now, emerging issues, digital trade and climate finance, some of the emerging issues that we saw. Digital aid aims to harmonize e-commerce regulations, while climate finance initiatives pose conditionalities affecting local environmental laws. These areas reveal tensions between global integration and national sovereignty. We profiled recommendations in our work, and among the few, I will just mention 3. Negotiate for flexible IFI conditionalities aligning with national constitutions. We also recommended that there's a need to strengthen mechanisms to enforce the ASCFTAs and address non-tariff barriers. We also recommended that there's a need to advocate for World Trade Organization's reform to enhance equitable access to medicines and trade. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any question or comment? Okay. I'm impressed with the delivery of your paper, and I try to follow your argument or analysis in the course of the presentation. I realize this is a solo effort by a one-member group. I guess you are the only one in that group.
Yes, though we're supposed to be 2, but
you are the only one in that group from what I've seen.
Yes, Prof.
Good.
Good afternoon, sir.
Only one person is listed. Chagaya Phillips Yaya is listed, and only one matric number is there. So whoever joins you is on our own. So
yes,
I realize you're able to speak critically to
an
the issues.
explanation to that, sir. If you
I can't take that, please. I can't take that, please.
All right.
I can't take that. Yeah. So, and if you would definitely not have allowed the paper to go on if you participated and your colleague failed to include your name, you definitely would have challenged that. So, and if a group is meant for 2 and you're not assisting your colleague as a lawyer, then you will strike out your name, and that's what.
Well, I did reach out, sir. That's why I said I can actually.
No, I don't. I can't. That's not for me. Honestly, that's not for me. He did a 33-page paper which is full of analysis, and I glanced through the footnotes. It wasn't as if somebody that dubbed content, that dubbed things. I can see as far. Hello, I can see that he still accessed documents and papers up until 11 June. He cited 2025 materials, several 2025 materials, several 2024 materials. It shows the topic is up to date. You can look at footnote 41, footnote footnote 85. Then look at footnote 81 and several. Those are the kind of things we accept. Footnote 82, footnote 81, and several of the papers showing contemporary issues are cited logically, commendably. These are the kind of stuff we expect from master's class to show scholarship, to show industry. And then I commend the paper, and I look forward to getting to read the hard copy more carefully, so that the paper will get its deserved grades for the job. What we are appraising paper is the logicality of the argument. We also look at the materials, the worth of the materials cited in the work, which is more than satisfactory. Lastly, we also look at delivery. If the presenter adopt the paper somewhere, you might not be able to deliver. Sometimes delivery will look at your responses to questions and answers. If it's not you that authored the work, you won't be able to present. Even if you're able to present because you are reading something, if questions are asked of you, you will know how to respond. So those are things we examine when you present. And to that extent, this work is very satisfactory. And I guess we'll take it from there. That's about it for today. All the two papers presented. I'll see you guys next week by the grace of God, virtually.
Good evening, Prof.
Yes, very good evening.
Good evening. My name is Ll.M-Law. Apologies. When my colleague Kenechukwu was presented, I was in another MBA CPE.
No.
And it had overflow.
That session is over. That's supposed to be the previous group. We're just dealing with group 12 now. So you just send a memo to that effect place. No, you can't bring that up now because we ended the class on that as to your presentation. You understand? It's like when you supposed to be having a case before the court and your matter is called and adjourned. So you can't bring it up again because the court already ruled on it. You understand? So it's for you to put up it's for you to put up necessary papers to your colleague to justify why you couldn't make it, and it will make a case for you that it was a joint work, unlike the last one. So if you're able to sign something satisfactory, then we'll bring you back in to show that you also participated or contributed in the paper. You understand? Because he actually did mention that you are doing something official. And I said that was not before me. You can't be in the main exam and
I appreciate that. So I didn't know there was going to be an overflow.
No, it's not going to be. That's not the way.
Okay,
even in court, if they're not going to come, you write the court seeking an adjournment or those stories. Don't just take things for granted, assuming the lecturer, you are not there, you are not there. That's not the way it works with us, please. We all are lawyers. You know the right thing to do.
Okay, that's fine, sir. Thank you.
Okay, just do the next. We'll take it from there. Okay, class. Good evening. See you next week. Bye-bye.